Yeah.
I have no problem calling her a cunt. Like, at what point can you take a microscope to somebody's life and sit there and say, that defines you forever now? Because fuck you. We're recording now. No,
You seem like you're in a good mood.
Well, God. Keemstar accusing Tony of being a pedophile will forever have a stain on Tony's life, regardless of the truth or not that he didn't do that. Skai Jackson's doing essentially the same fucking thing. I don't get me wrong; these kids are very clearly being racist. It's not the same. I can't pretend it's the same.
Starting off on a real strong, a real easy, smooth topic, aren't we?
So I actually.
That's what we do here on Speaking Goodly. We start off with the hard stuff.
I am starting to work on my new YouTube channel / show, which I still have to work on a little bit. And the first topic that I did, and I think I've talked to you about this, but it's a very hard concept to explain, called there is no such thing as hate speech. I won't go into the whole elaboration, that whole bullshit, blah, 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 blah. So I'm all amped up to talk about hard, tough topic shit like this. Also, fucking DDoS of America. Your shit just got pixely on me. It'll clear up. But, no, I can't find the circumstance that says that a 12 to 16-year-old kid has been forever defined by the stupid, silly-ass tweets they put up on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and therefore we need to define them for the rest of their lives as that. Because we're not teaching anybody anything. You're not educating them. You're not telling them, hey, this is a little fucked up. You maybe want to change this because we can all see it. Like, you've only just said, hey, we're going to ensure you're not allowed to have a job because anytime anyone searches your name, because in 10, 20 years when people are actually employing you, they're going to find this first, that you were put on blast for being racist. And it's like, oh, we don't want to hire a racist, especially with BLM 5.0 going on. We don't want to be under that radar.
Yeah. So maybe we should clarify for anybody that's not aware of who Skai Jackson is or what's going on. Skai Jackson is, I believe she's a former Disney, I don't know if I would call her a star, because apparently she was just like a subcast member on a Disney show. And she's been basically gathering information from people on Twitter about people that are, kids that are posting either racist or insensitive things, racially insensitive things on Twitter,
and getting it wrong.
Instagram, or anything else, huh?
And getting it wrong in some cases.
In some cases, yeah. In some cases she's actually She's actually been spreading information. Well, that's the thing. I hadn't even finished that part. She's spreading the private information about them, like phone numbers, where they go to school, things like that. And they're most of these that I've seen that she's just exposing, quote unquote, are underage. A lot of them appear to be very clearly kids that don't know any better. Not that it makes it any better for them to not know any better, but her and the people that I've seen her and other people that she's that are supporting her in this, talking about actively celebrating that they have no future because a dumb kid is, for right now, expressing some very bad ideals.
Yeah.
Problem is, when you try and destroy someone's future because of that kind of stuff, you
entrench them.
I almost said emboldens it, but it's not that. No, you're not going to change someone's mind because you destroyed their livelihood or destroyed their future. That's going to make them despise you more than they already did, if they actually did have a problem with people of your orientation or whatever. If you're doing this because of any different reason, right? It's going to make that mindset worse. So if anything, these kind of actions are probably driving a bigger wedge in society. Because some of these people are people that don't actually mean any harm. While it might be harmful, it's definitely not better to, hey, go attack their school. Get them kicked off social media, whatever. But people are going to, when this kind of stuff happens, they're just going to bottle it up. They're going to keep it quiet. They're not going to post it on social media because they're going to be afraid of losing their livelihood about it, right? But it's not going to change who they are or how they think or anything. It's going to make them hate the people that did it even more.
Real quick, if anybody is watching, just FYI, the America is being DDoSed into fucking Satanism, so I apologize. You might get a little blurry from time to time, Jay.
America's being what do you mean?
There's literally like a mass DDoS attack happening right now, and major servers are getting targeted and kind of smashed offline. So Discord's giving some funky responses right now.
Oh wow. I hadn't heard about that. I guess
Yeah.
I haven't said it. I think I said it on Twitter maybe at some point. I told you earlier. I haven't really been following much on Twitter. I hop on Twitter for like checking group messages and things like that. But so that's the only reason I'm even aware of Skai is because I've been checking my DMs and stuff. But I've been avoiding the feed because there's just so much stuff going on that's just so mentally draining, and most of the stuff no one wants you to actually talk about. So
I'm
just
about
like, "Alright, screw it."
90% certain that Twitter changed the algorithm so that Black Lives Matter stuff isn't appearing in my feed anymore. I'm almost certain of it. Like, there were mass riots, mass chaos going on, and then all of a sudden just kind of vanished from my feed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like Twitter did some shit. Because don't get me wrong,
I'm still seeing it a lot, so I don't know.
that's what I mean. Is like I don't fucking know.
Did you maybe get drunk and like muted BLM or something?
I don't get drunk. I can't get drunk anyway.
Did you get sleep drunk? Did you like stay up too long and
I don't. No. I don't think you will ever understand this. Is that I can't get fucking drunk, and it infuriates me. The only way I ever get drunk is if I literally go, here is a bottle of Jack Daniels, and swish it all down, and then I sit there for 30 minutes. Maybe then I'll get drunk.
yeah?
It's fucking horseshit, and it ruins my time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the diabetes or if it's just my lack of drinking, but like I used to be able to, like when I started drinking, I could drink a ton of vodka, no issue, wouldn't affect me whatsoever. Like I drank like half a bottle of vodka one night. Because it was my first time drinking, really. Didn't realize, oh wait, but this is stuff people take shots of and used to make mixed drinks. So I drank half a bottle without realizing how strong that was, and not feeling any effects. I didn't realize until I got back, and my wife at the time, my girlfriend, and she had to explain to me how much that actually was. I was like, oh, I guess it's a good thing I feel fine then. That could have been really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily
Yeah.
I wasn't walking funny or anything. Luckily I was just like, okay, I guess I can handle my liquor then. But now, and I like I said, I don't know if it's because my body can't handle the sugar anymore because of diabetes or what. But now, I can't handle it.
Yeah, no, that is a major impact of that.
Yeah.
Now, I've been drunk 2 times. First time, the only time I drank underage was one time, and it coincidentally was the time I got fucking shit-faced smacked. I drank 3/4 of a bottle of vodka and a quarter bottle of Jack Daniels. Got so drunk I threw up multiple times and I was sleeping in my own vomit. Then my friend kind of shooed me out of my own vomit and cleaned up after me. Best friend for fucking ever. But that was like, I was majorly depressed, and I had just I literally was just like, fuck it, I'll do this underage shit, I don't care. People were doing it all the time in high school. I was like, you fucking retards, like, this is so goddamn stupid. Second time, I was like, I'm getting drunk. And I told Matthew and Jocelyn, I was like, I'm getting drunk. And they were like, okay, we're not stopping you. And I'm like, I'm just letting you know that I'm going to be
This
forcing
is
myself.
big for me. Acknowledge it.
No. It wasn't necessarily. It's like I'm trying to be like, I'm trying to make a statement.
That was
It's
a joke.
me
I didn't
going-
think it's actually what you were thinking.
No. I don't. It's just me saying, I'm going to be running up and down the stairs for the next 45 minutes, pounding rum. So I did Hawaiian punch and Malibu rum with a little bit like pineapple orange juice in mix. Terrible idea because all that sugar, number one. But I think I had maybe 12 shots worth of rum, and I finally got drunk. And the stupid thing was I was still completely cohesive the entire time. But the problem came into effect where I got so fucking sugar burned up, like whatever it is, where you mix too much alcohol and sugar, like, I don't know, there's a fucking term for that shit, that I was nauseous for like 3 hours following it. So I was like, can I have the trash can? They gave me the trash can, got it all in the trash can, no mess anywhere, and I didn't smell like shit, which was like, fucking thank God.
I'm not familiar with if there's a term for that or not. I've only ever known of any term relating to sugar is like sugar high, and that's it.
Yeah, you do not want to ever mix sugar and alcohol. It fucks you up bad. And I wasn't hungover after that too, which that threw me off. When I did the Jack and vodka, I had a hangover that crippled me. But that was the only time I've ever been hungover, and then the other time I was closest is just a fuckload of White Claw. Which, by the way, White Claw, please sponsor me.
Yeah, White Claw's actually good. Like memes, Karen memes and stuff aside, it's actually really good.
Dude, I pounded like 7 one night with Jocelyn. We were watching movies, and I was just like, fuck it, we're watching Marriage Story, and I pounded 7 of them. It is the best buzz feeling ever. Gotta piss every 5 seconds.
It's nice and light too. It's nice and light too. Plus, it's mostly water, so you're still not doing anything terrible to your system, really.
Yeah. The 2 problems is, number 1 is that you gotta piss every 10 minutes. Like, it's just nonstop, and I can't keep my balance, so I grab onto like every wall that I can. But I'm not drunk. I'm almost completely cohesive, almost.
I've only ever been drunk, I think, twice. I've been very lightly tipsy, I'd say, a couple times, but I've only ever really been drunk, hammered once. And it's actually on YouTube because it was me and my friend came up with a stupid drinking game that we wanted to try. And it was a huge failure. We really thought we were going to be better at Google Feud than we were. I think I ended up doing... Let me see if I can look up the video. We did a really dumb amount of shots in an hour. And I can't remember if I was using Cap Morgan Black or regular Captain Morgan. But basically, what happened is we were doing every round of Google... You remember Google Feud, right? You get 10 questions. You get 10 answers you're supposed to guess for each question.
No, but I can roughly extrapolate.
Yeah, it's Family Feud, but it's always 10 answers that you're supposed to try and guess which answers are on there.
Okay.
And it's basically I don't have it public on my old gaming channel. Yeah. So anyway, basically what happened is we both sucked, and out of I think we were doing 10 games or something. So I ended up taking I think in an hour. I took 20-something shots. Because I think it was if we didn't get 3 right in the 10 answers per game, we would have to take 2 shots.
That seems to be a recipe for disaster, especially if you're relying on Google searches.
I threw up. I what?
That seems to be a disaster if you're relying on Google searches.
Yeah, it was rough, especially because it had been out for a little while, so some of the Google searches had been corrupted, because they were now about specifically looking for the answers or something. They kind of been broken because people are aware of it, and the YouTubers are playing Google Feud like crazy, so their audiences were playing it for fun before other smaller YouTubers got to it. Yeah, so I ended up puking, and then I passed out at my desk.
Damn.
Yeah. I lucked out though because I puked before I sat down at my desk. And the funny thing is, I thought I was fine after it happened. I didn't realize how drunk I was until I actually threw up. Because I was kind of playing it up a little bit in the video, but as soon as we decided, okay, we need to end this now. We already lost the game. There's nothing else to do. Let's just it's late. Let's just go to bed. I'll see you later. Okay, hang up. Okay, I need to go get water. That's the first thing I need. I definitely need water after drinking that much alcohol. So I went in the kitchen to grab a bottle of water. I got to the kitchen, got about a foot away from the water. I was like, I'm going to puke. I got into the bathroom just in time to throw up in the toilet. And I was like, I don't feel like going to get something to drink now. I think I'm just going to stay right here because it's closer to the bathroom. And I sat down, and then I woke up an hour later feeling completely sober. So it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, I find that water really necessary to keep on hand. You gotta have some water.
Yeah.
This one funny story, and I'm just I laugh because my parents bring it up like it's a big fucking joke, but I'm always just kind of like, I had to deal with this shit. My brother came home from like a football party or Super Bowl party, smashed brutally. So I wake up to him kind of like falling into bed because we shared bedrooms for like decades because that's a fucking normal thing you do apparently. And so he smashes and falls into bed. And then at like 2 or 3 a.m., all I hear is, bleh. And then I'm like, what the fuck? And then I just hear, bleh. And all I can just smell is death.
Yeah.
And so, me being like 17, 18 at the time, I don't know exactly how old, I'm just like, oh, he's fucking smashed out of his brain. I grab the fucker orange juice, water, and some Tylenol so that when he inevitably wakes up, he's got some shit right there. But the way it was described to me the following day, because I went downstairs and to sleep into a different room or a couch or something, I don't remember. And it was described as a bright orange chicken wing nightmare. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Or brother, not using names.
Yeah, you just have to censor that, I guess.
I'll cut it. Drunk stories aside, though, Skai's a fucking cunt. Because I just realized we got on the whole track of that, and I'm like, I still haven't finished calling this bitch a cunt enough yet.
I'm still not sure how we got on that track, to be honest with you.
You know, I
Is it because she's drunk on power? Drunk with power?
Drunk with power. There you go.
There we go. That'll work.
No, to finish on the alcohol thing. I gotta do drunk souls.
Wait. So we're going from Skai Jackson to drinking, back to Skai Jackson, back to drinking, back to Skai Jackson.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you done? You haven't played Dark Souls, have you?
I have. I hate it.
Oh, god damn it.
I don't like those kind of games. I'm no good at them, and I have no interest in learning to get good at them.
That is the best thing to do drunk game nights with. You just take the controller, you pass it around. Every time you die, you take like a half shot or something like that. If you're me, you do a double shot because you don't die that often.
Humble brag?
I'm not that good. I still get fucked up plenty of times. I'm just saying is that it takes me a while to die, whereas somebody who's a newbie is probably going to die many times.
No.
But
I will admit I like the Star Wars game that
Fallen Order
is
Fallen
Order. Yeah, I thought you said Law and Order. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Star Wars Law and Order.
I love playing as Ice Cube. Whenever he dies, he respawns and goes, "Yo, man, you mean to tell me she was anally penetrated?" I've never watched that show, but I've only ever seen Ice Cube memes. It's my favorite.
By Darth Lord Felicia.
Sure. I don't know who that is. I just look at Twitter shit.
By Felicia.
By Felicia's from Law.
You're not. No, you're not familiar. You said Ice Cube, not Ice T.
Oh, whichever. Fucking.
No, Ice Cube. The famous line by Felicia from Friday. I made a reference to that, and you're like, I don't know who that is. But you said Ice Cube. I referenced the guy you referenced, but you didn't reference Ice T.
Look. There's an Ice who begins with T and Cube. I think one of them did music. I don't know what the other one does. I just like seeing them be confused that people can be anally penetrated. And that's all I know.
Who do you think Vanilla Ice is?
A guy who does Amish house remodeling.
I need to drink now.
And he was dangled off a roof by a fucking legit killer. Yeah, that was Vanilla Ice.
You know, Ice-T actually was with... Oh, no, it's Flavor Flav. Never mind. I was say Ice-T was with the chick that was with that was like supposed to be Dolph Lundgren's girl in the Rocky movie.
I never watched the Rocky past Rocky 1.
You uncultured swine.
The movie was fucking awful. Rocky 1 is an awful fucking movie.
The first one was long and boring, but given when it came out, it made sense.
Yeah.
Now, after that, they did actually get better, in my opinion.
I haven't watched them. I don't have time.
You've made that clear.
I haven't had time to do anything. And it's pissing me off because all I have is free fucking time.
You haven't had time in the last 20 years?
No, I don't know what the fuck is happening.
You didn't have time when you were a kid and they were on AMC and anybody was just watching them and you're in passing?
I wasn't allowed to watch TV. I don't know if I've ever told you this. From all the way until I was 18 years old.
I feel like that's a big thing to leave out as well from conversation.
I was not allowed to consume any television, any electronic media devices Monday through Friday afternoon. Any school day, anything that ever existed, I was not allowed to do it. Doesn't matter about homework, doesn't matter about anything else. Literally, I was not allowed to watch any TV, play any video games until the weekends.
That's inhumane.
If you ever want to make your kid into a video or TV game addict, you do that to them. I've never been more addicted to video games in my life than when I was told I can't have them. Because I wasn't taught moderation, because literally Saturday came around, and from 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock, all I was doing was Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, that's something parents are not very good at figuring out how to do, is teach moderation.
Yeah.
It usually ends up turning into either demonized or praised when it comes to things. Like for example, my parents let us play video games, but we were only allowed to play like a half an hour a day, a couple days a week. And most video games are like story-based games on Super Nintendo and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get very far. You might get okay in some of them, but like they're games where you have to play through the entire game to get back to where you were in many cases.
Yeah,
because they didn't have save states back then. Yeah. Well, but that's the games I played when I was that age. We didn't have a better console or anything. And then for some reason, when we got Game Boys, we were just allowed to play them. There was no time limit or anything. We were just allowed to play them. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. But yeah, my parents made it seem like they very much hated video games. And they still don't like video games, really. But my mom loves playing her Bubble Blasters or whatever, Candy Crush and stuff on her phone. But it's not. But she hates video games. It's not the same. I freaking hate that crap.
No,
And then they'll act like it's like there's a ton of nuance between the two. It's like no, they're video games. Shut the frick up.
No, I'm very appreciative towards my upbringing, but there were just so many little things like that done where it's like you've just done damage rather than help. Like, the three things that I can just go off the top of my head is, number one is the TV thing. Is that I wasn't taught moderation. I was told you have to wait for the weekend to get your gratification, and then that immediately turned into, oh wait, I'm a loose and free adult and I don't have to listen to that anymore? I'm just going to do it for 12 hours a day every day. Fuck school, fuck work, I'm just going to do that. And then until I was told in the restaurant industry, hey, I'm going to fire you if you don't do your job. I'm like, oh, shit, this isn't normal.
And here's the funny thing, too, about that whole concept, right? A lot of parents, they don't, like we said, don't teach the moderation, right? And then they'll demonize things, right?
Right.
And now we see all these parents that'll go on Dr. Phil talking about how their son's addicted to Fortnite or whatever. But it doesn't just happen that way. In most cases, they let the kid play too much, and they never say no. And then they decide to complain when it's too late.
Yeah.
Freaking stupid.
No, it's really hard. It's hard to make that distinction of when it is appropriate to learn how to cut off or how to actually give them the appreciation to be like, hey, this isn't meant to be like every day for every day of the week. It's meant to be like a treat type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I even myself don't have any even remote idea. The best idea that I have so far is going, allow them like 30-minute sessions when their other work is done, just to kind of give them the gratification type of thing. And then also family. Like, if you and 3 other people are all sitting down and playing some sort of family goofy game, that's fun and enjoyable, and you kind of get ingratiated to the idea of like, oh, with other people this is fun, but when you play by yourself it just feels like drinking alone. It's just like, that's weird.
Yeah, that's something I've talked to my wife about, was that when he starts playing video games and all, we're going to probably say, okay, you can play this much unless we're having like a family game night or something. If Daddy's gonna play and he says, hey, you want to come play, we'll play a game together or whatever, that's fine. But if you just want to go and play games, you're gonna have a limit. Yeah. That's typical. That's kind of where we're at right now. That's where we're planning to be. Last we talked about it. Because he's not that close to that point, so that we're not having frequent conversations about it yet.
Right. But like the other thing too, if you ever want to fuck up your kids, is don't tell them to pursue their creative endeavors. I only fathom to imagine how much further along I'd be in my YouTube career if I was actually encouraged to try out doing what I'm doing. I think this is an interesting story. You'll have fun with this one. I don't think I made a video about it. I don't know. So I was invited by this group that I was working with to go set a world record in Halo 4 for the longest time playing a video game nonstop. And who was in that event? Ninja. The Ninja, before he was ever famous. This is a real story. I have video, I have proof, I have all the shit. So these two guys, Adam and... fuck, I always forget the other guy his name is. This other guy, Hytrin and... Fuck, I forget his name. Wow. They set it up so that they got GameStop to sponsor the event because Adam worked at GameStop. And then I got NOS Energy Drink as a sponsor. And I had Elgato originally, but the capture card sucked at that point. So we got it all set up. We're ready to go. We got sponsors on the event. They were talking about doing this as a yearly event. I'd be the marketing guy, just try to like help them get contact with sponsors and try to set up like big names for this shit. And then they got Ninja when he was just a pro Halo player. And so I got a ticket to fly down to Texas. I'm like, I'm going down for a couple days. I'll be back, and it's just for an event. And he told me, if you go, you are kicked out of this house forever. I'm like, what? And so, yeah, that's how I got shunted on my creative online endeavors many times over. And that's just example number one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, don't stifle creativity, motherfuckers. I don't stifle your kid's future like Skai Jackson.
Now, when you say that the Elgato capture card sucked at the time, do you mean that the software sucked? Because I remember the original capture card that I had from them. The capture card seemed like it worked fine, but the settings and stuff in the capture card software were weird and confusing.
So the original software had the flashback replay where it could go up to an hour.
Yeah.
But what they didn't do is they didn't compensate for live streaming it at all. So it was only meant to be a capture card, not for live. So the sync that you had to do to get your audio just right to the capture card, it was way too difficult to get that to sync up properly at the time. But
yeah, I had issues with it too.
Yeah, that software got a million times better and the hardware caught up real fast. So it's better now.
Yeah, it was primarily the software then. Okay,
I think
that's why I was curious. I was gonna say when I used it, all I had to do was turn off the flashback and I had to turn off the preview, the screen preview, and I would get. It was decent, except if I recorded for more than like 40 minutes or something like that, all of a sudden there would be like a jump in the video where it would clip for some reason, and then it would start again or something.
No, this was before then. Like I'm talking like the company had only been running for like a year or two at that point. Like right. I don't know how long ago, maybe 8 years at this point. But yeah, so don't do those things. Don't rob your kids of their future or creative endeavors. And there you go. And don't be a cunt on the internet who insists on attacking 12-year-olds for making racist jokes. You can't see that smiling at you.
Let's be real though. Just because you support your kids in artistic endeavor, it doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere either. My parents have never really stifled me, and I'm 30 and I'm still doing this stuff, and they haven't really stifled me at all. They haven't tried to stop me or anything. They've supported it.
See, but
my dad before has even said that he doesn't. I mean, it's my dad, so massive grain of salt. But my dad's even said he doesn't understand why I don't work in TV or something like that because of some of the things I've done.
Here's specifically why I have an argument about like don't stifle creativity. Is because there are 800 million people on this planet who will just tell you no matter what. Well, statistically, you're not likely to do this, so don't even bother. Even though there's 7 billion other people on the planet, and I can only imagine like 100 million to a billion people are doing something that they actually kind of are like interested in. Maybe not like their dream job, but like there's got to be at least 1 in 10 people who are doing something that they wanted to do. And out of that, maybe 1 billion, the other 6 to 7 billion at this point, I don't even know how many people are on this planet, they're all going to tell you, well, statistically it didn't work out for me, so it's not going to work out for you. But it's like, but if you look at the analytics and the way that the trends are and the changing of the times, you statistically can do whatever you want just as long as you're willing to try to find a reasonable avenue to make money and or try to monetize on whatever it is you're doing. There's almost always a way. Almost. You just have to have some people kind of go, well, try it. And if it doesn't work, well then, do it for fun. Just don't do it as a job. And I'm like, that takes no effort to say. So why would you ever just sit there and be like, no, you're not allowed to do it. In fact, I'm going to forbid you from doing it. I'm going to take away your ability to do that. Like, that's more damning than anything else.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. For sure. You definitely don't want to stifle, like, actively stifle. But I just meant like, just because you support it, doesn't mean it's gonna become a success or anything. That's all. Because it still relies on talent. It still relies on audience, whether there's talent or not. I mean, look at me. Like I said, I had support from my family and stuff over the years, and matter of fact, not the faith, but the support I've had over the years has only begun to kind of waver after all these years now, as I've had some minor, tiny modicum of success in terms of, making connections and meeting people and stuff. I haven't even had actual success on the platform necessarily.
Right. Well, like...
When we talk success, I'm holding a $300 processor in my hand. Oh, crap.
Wow.
It's alright, it's already broken.
Are you sending that shit back, or?
It's got bent pins, I can't send it back.
Oh.
Yeah, trust me, it pissed me off. $300 processor, I had to buy a new one. And the worst part is because I didn't check before, I don't know if they were bent by me, my system, or what. Because it went in proper, it went in fine when I put it in the system. When I closed the little lock bar down, it looked like it was still locked, but I didn't check to make sure it was locked. And then I put the cooler down on top of it, started the whole thing up, nothing. Got nothing out of it. Took it out, and there was a bent pin.
You might be able to sell it. Yeah, it'd be a side at a loss, but...
No, I couldn't sell. I can sell the cooler, though. This is a Wraith cooler. The Wraith coolers are good coolers. I could definitely sell the cooler, but I could not sell the processor.
I feel like there was ways to fix the pins. Like I heard
there are, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's
and
really
this
hard.
one in particular, after I took the cooler back off, some of the thermal paste somehow got onto the pins, so they're shot. Yeah.
Yeah. I have yet to build my own PC. That's usually why I build aftermarket or buy aftermarket, because it's just like I'm always afraid of that risk.
Here's the thing. The cost is usually worth it because usually you don't have these stupid problems. This is my third PC I've built. This is the first time I've had this issue. The only thing is I would recommend it now, only because Ryzen is cheaper. It's still cheaper to build than buy, and you can still get better options by doing it that way as well. The problem is you have to do more research now than ever, because Ryzen has a more specific requirements, how you overclock things, how you have to, like my board for some reason came and a ton of stuff was overclocked by default. So I booted my system up and it's running at like the max possible overclock specs. And I've got regular fans and stuff. I don't have any extra system fans or anything. I've got nothing extra. I have just the regular system, the regular case, with one fan in the front, one fan in the back. I'm going to buy more eventually, but I spent too much money on the system as it is already because I had to buy a new CPU anyway.
Right.
I have an RTX 2060 in here. Minecraft with ray tracing is nice. Yes, I can confirm. And also, surprisingly, side note, doesn't tax the system as much as I thought it was going to. Like, people talked about, like, people act like it's like, oh, it's going to impact your game so heavily. It didn't, like, at all. Like, I could have streamed Minecraft with ray tracing on. It wouldn't have been a problem. I mean, maybe if I was loading new chunks or something, maybe it would have. Maybe if I was, like, venturing into a new area, maybe it would have been worse. But, no, I had plenty of overhead, and this is only a 2060 Super, or basically the same specs as an RTX 2070. So if you've got more than a regular 2060, you can probably run ray tracing and stream Minecraft. I don't know about any other games, but the point is it didn't tax the system that much more on that game in particular. So it'll be really interesting to see where they take the whole RTX thing in the future, because there's still a very limited number of games that have it. But
yeah, I feel kind of bad because I never clock my games up that high. I don't overclock at all. I've just never had the revenue for that.
I don't either. That's the thing, is I've never needed to, and I prefer not to, because you get more life out of your system typically by not doing it, because you're putting less strain on the system. Your parts won't heat up as much. Right. You don't need to do as much work. You don't have to have all the extra stuff in your system that could go wrong, like radiators and water cooling and stuff. They say that unless you're really, really heavily overclocking, you don't even need water cooling and stuff. but it still seems to be generally your best bet, your best option if you're overclocking. I just would prefer not to overclock unless I have to. So, for example, right now I have an RTX. I have a Ryzen 7 3700X, 8 cores, like 16 threads or something like that. This processor should realistically be good for me for quite some time. The next processors that come out will be an improvement, but whether or not they're a big enough improvement for me to actually go up to them, I don't know. That being said,
I've never really cared for that future-proofing mentality. I get it. I'm not saying it's like wrong, but I'm just kind of like, statistically, it's going to happen regardless. So what's the harm in just going? It's kind of the iPhone argument. It's like, why would I buy the first iPhone that comes out, like the iPhone 11? Why would I buy the first iPhone 11 that comes out? Why don't I wait a couple months until they refine it a little bit and get it better, and then just buy that one and have that last me for the next 3 to 5 years? Which I don't know which Ryzen series is the one that does that, but that's what I usually do with my shit. Is I wait until like the eighth gen's out, and then I buy
usually
the
the improvements are a different type of thing with things like processors. Usually the improvements are a different type of thing altogether. Like this 3700X is better than the 3700. I believe there's a 3700 because there's a 36, there's a 38, and the 3900X. I'm assuming since there's a 3600X, there's probably a 3700, a 3800, a 3900, but I'm not positive. Anyway, but the improvements between the 3600X and the 3600 are almost non-existent. It basically seems to have been just like a refresh. The actual full generation are actual differences. Like for example, my system I just had was not great, right? If I bought this system, right, 3700X and all this stuff that I just got, but then I'm gonna have to buy a brand new system in 6 months or so, right? But the other system was shot. The other system was doing me no good anymore. It was a struggle to do anything with that system anymore. Editing was a nightmare. So the idea with the future-proofing for a lot of people is that if something is beneficial to them, they have the option to move up. It's not that they're buying it specifically for that purpose, but it's that they would like to have the overhead in case. So because like think about it like this, right? If you get like a PS4 or something, right? You don't want to, but you might be willing to go buy the PS4 Pro 4 or 5 years later when your system is getting old and overheating and all that, right? But then you have to pay for an entire system again. Whereas with the PC, you get a higher result across the board, right? But you don't want to go buy a brand new PC when you can just upgrade one part. And for example, like with the processors and all that stuff, the new processors that are coming, I don't understand where they're getting the information from because I haven't seen any information that I understand about it. I'm not that big a tech guy. I just know some tech stuff. The processors that are rumored to be coming, or that we know are coming, are rumored to be far more effective than these ones that we have right now. With Ryzen, they've been doing this consistently. It's not usually like this. Like Intel, for years, has not really innovated on their stuff because they have the market, so they didn't need to.
Right.
Now they haven't innovated still in years, and AMD's just kind of like, okay, we're just going to keep innovating, but you guys keep doing what you're doing. So Ryzen are still super cheap by comparison, but still able to, at the very least, compete with similar offerings at a lower price. In most cases.
Only thing I haven't seen, and this is just me from my professional experience have seen, is that AMD still runs way too fucking hot. So people like quieter systems for professional environments. So they usually just go with Intel because it's it's quiet, it doesn't burn our building up.
That's only if you go air cooler though.
Right.
And it's only if you go certain air coolers because you can get better air coolers. The stock air cooler can be loud, yes. The Wraith air cooler that comes with it is not that loud. This PC I have, when it is running hottest, has been noticeable at best. And I mean, without my headphones on, sitting right next to it. And I mean, that was the first night when it was running way too hot, and I don't even think it was the Wraith fan. I think it was actually the 2060 fan.
Oh.
Because this is known to be a really good fan. This is known to be a really good air cooler.
I've never used air coolers, so I have no opinion on it. I only ever do the water cool.
Well, air coolers are the only one. Well, I mean, depending on... I forgot. I have heard that sometimes water coolers do actually have more noise.
This one's noisy enough.
Depending on... Yeah, so I've never had a water cooler because I've never felt the need to. With the last CPU I had, I should have had a water cooler with the 8350, because that one was... those were terrible, apparently. I didn't know as much as I thought I did at the time. Now I know I don't know what I'm talking about. To most extent, I'm just parroting what other people have said when I watch their videos about the stuff. But researching building a PC, I do a whole lot of it before I build a PC. And there actually seems to be that a lot of people are saying, yeah, you don't even need to go air cooler now. It actually, like, a lot of people, you think you're going to get better sound from it, but a lot of times now your sound is going to come from like your power supply or your graphics card, and that's where the major noise effect is going to come from.
Right. Which power supply, I understand that one, but
yeah,
the graphics card, I've heard that one before, but I haven't.
My
seen
graphics card gets real hot. I've been monitoring my CPU temp the last couple days because this is a powerful CPU, and I really don't want to burn the system out. So I've been monitoring it while I've been playing and streaming and stuff. And right now it maxes out at like 60 degrees. But my granted that's Celsius, but my system, when I put my hand on the vents and stuff, when I'm doing that stuff, it's hot. It is really hot. But somehow the processor is only going up like 10 degrees. So it doesn't make sense that it's that hot. So that tells me that it's probably the graphics card. And if I actually put my hand on the tempered glass and feel down the side of the case, I can feel when it's the CPU putting out the heat, and I can feel when it's the graphics card putting out the heat.
I don't know what
because I can actually feel where the heat is.
Graphics card that heavy, man. I'm
streaming and playing video games.
I've never had that problem. The worst I ever have is my CPU.
Okay, well, for example, Warzone is a fairly new game. So if I'm running that at really high settings, because it's defaulting to really high settings while I'm streaming.
Why would you ever stream in ultra graphics? What's wrong with you?
Because it doesn't tax the system that high.
Oh my god!
I'm actually monitoring the load on the system. The system isn't overloaded at all.
Hold up. Do you not know the age-old adage? Turn the graphics as low as possible. That way you can distinguish every character model and instantly snipe everyone.
It doesn't work that way in Warzone.
You just haven't tried hard enough.
I tried it in PUBG and I hated it.
I
tried it in a bunch of other games and I hated it.
I know it's.
I've done it.
I know it's technically third-party shit you got to download to do stuff like that, but if you watch Basically Homeless, you can see how brutal you can tax the systems down to just make it look like a fucking piece of dog shit.
What's the point if you're streaming if it's going to look like dog trash?
Competitive advantage.
But you're not going to see it as a competitive advantage as a viewer.
Well, I mean, that's why you got to be entertaining. I don't ascribe to that belief that most people are coming to watch the game. I think most people are coming to watch the streamer, because if they just wanted to watch the game, they'd go watch a pro.
Yeah, but you got to remember, I'm also at a level where I don't have people to interact with. Right. So what am I supposed to do to entertain people?
See, if you
just do a stand-up routine while I'm playing.
If you drop the graphics down to like N64 quality, people are staying. They have questions.
No, they just think you're running a bad system.
Yeah, no, I'm joking.
I don't even.
I'm joking.
You have to enjoy playing too, and I don't enjoy it when it's that bad.
No, when it comes to Warzone, PUBG, and Battlefield, if I can't see anything, I'm dropping graphics down to dog shit so I can distinguish a fucking icon.
For me, a lot of it is immersion, though. I need to feel a certain amount of immersion in a game to really enjoy it, I think, in a lot of ways.
We got Fancy Pants over here, likes to see every grass blade. Oh, must be nice having you, Mr. Rich.
I play at 1080p, bro. I don't even play at 4K or anything like that. So it's not that big a deal to stream at high graphics. I didn't even say ultra. You said ultra. I just didn't change the graphics after it set them. And then I also set it to VSync. I set the VSync on so that it locks it to 60 frames.
I don't even really know what VSync does. I imagine it's something stupid obvious.
It locks your frames.
Just frames on the monitor setting?
It syncs your frames with your monitor, apparently.
Okay.
It syncs the output, apparently, to what you're capable of already. So, like, if you're not just like how your system can't, just like how your system can't perform better when you're trying to set like a high resolution, you can't set it to like 4K on a 1080p monitor and get 4K because it's a 1080p monitor. Yeah. So it basically what it does is you're already only able to see so much, so it lets you lock. Yeah. So it's not trying to render all that. That's my understanding, at least.
Okay. I can never remember.
So far, it has helped a lot.
Or G Sync or S Sync. There's all these different sync ones. I don't care anymore.
Because like Gamer J Lee, he when I was having a lot of trouble getting Streamlabs OBS to function properly, because I knew I had the power to run the streams and all that, but all of a sudden it was doing this thing where like it would just start dropping frames like crazy, and it would slowly get worse. And then I was having all these issues. That was just one of them. There was a whole ton of other issues as well, where no matter what I did, I couldn't resolve it. And Gamer J Lee hopped into the chat, and he helped me kind of resolve a little bit of it. But one of the things that happened was I had VSync was apparently already turned on in Halo Reach for some reason. So he said, if you have VSync on, go turn that off, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because he was talking about something about like, you're definitely running better than you think you are. It's definitely something wrong with either your settings or something in between.
Yeah,
I was looking at it, and he had me turn VSync off. And my frames shot up to like 350 per second. And I was like, oh, but I get a 60 hertz monitor, so I'm only seeing 60 of 300.
Right.
That's pointless. So I just reactivated it. So it's like, okay, so then I'm taxing the system less. All right, cool.
Interesting. I've seen what you're talking about. I've just never seen it to that scale. Because when I
never knew what VSync was. He kind of explained it to me. No, I turned a bunch of things on when I was having problems to try and resolve things, but he's the one who explained it. So
okay, I had the same problem with H1Z1, so makes sense. I understand.
Yeah.
Now, my big thing with all this streaming nonsense. This is gonna be a weird question. Because I am a non-stream viewer. I don't watch streamers. I only ever watch for the personality if they do. How brutally impossible is it to get viewers on Twitch? Like,
for me, it's very difficult. Apparently, if I look at my analytics for Twitch, it actually tells me what my viewers watch most. And most of them is like 95% or something like that are primarily just chatting viewers. Like, that is their main thing, is they want to watch people that are like interacting with chat, and they want to talk and have a conversation, things like that.
Okay.
I would love to do that, but I'm such a small YouTuber, such a small streamer, that I don't have an audience to do that kind of thing.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people are, is like they just don't have. Like, you can sit there for an hour having a conversation with one person,
right,
but never get anything to really show your personality much. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because if you don't have anything to bounce off of or play off of, or if you're even just the slightest off in terms of your mood, you're not really putting yourself in the right position. And with Twitch, it seems to be entirely based on how many people you're watching, whether you go up in the rankings enough to get viewers.
Right. I mean, that's obvious with that whole system.
Yeah, so basically your whole thing is you either have to like collaborate with other people and get other people to shout you out or whatever, or you need to happen to be there at the right time, basically, to make people interested in clicking on your stream, which is one of the reasons that my way my camera right now looks the way it looks, is because this is the same setup I use for my streaming.
Right.
Instead of my recording setup, I can't because, like I told you, I don't have a capture card and all that hooked up for it. But it's so easy for me to set this up because of how I've organized everything, that just like that. And then this is, in my opinion, this is a decent looking stream setup.
Right.
In terms of like the angle of the camera and all that stuff. Unfortunately, if I'm playing a PS4 game, it's all the way over here. So I'm looking away from the camera if I'm trying to play. But it's one of the reasons I want to get my PC going, because now it's just a side angle if I'm playing Warzone or something. So
like, well, part of the reason
it's a lot of that. It's a combination of those factors. It's how is your setup, right? It's how is your interaction? Do you interact well enough, and do you interact often enough? And it's a matter of who you know.
I mean, obviously.
So it's basically timing, people.
So
and
the specific reason I'm asking is because I'm like, there's two problems I see with Twitch, and why I stopped fucking with Twitch at all in the first place. And the first one is that they're not doing what, in my opinion, feels like trying to nurture sane growth. All I've ever seen from like the last 3, maybe 4 years of Twitch now is 7 days a week, 6 hours a day, minimum. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck is willing to do that, and after 3 years doesn't want to fucking blow their brains out. And there are people who do it. I'm not saying it's like it's impossible.
Yeah,
but
they do say that they have said many times that you have to keep streaming.
You have
or else
to
you lose your audience.
You have to.
Well, no. Here's the thing. If you get to a certain level, that's not true. I actually heard somebody the other day point out. Apparently, there was somebody else. Apparently, there's a couple people who've done it recently, but the biggest example was Dr. Disrespect. People clowned on him a little bit when he came back, because he came back to a certain number of viewers or whatever. But when he came back from his scandal with his wife, apparently he came back and he legitimately set a record of some kind. I don't know what the record was. They didn't say, the people I heard talking.
Oh yeah.
And I did hear it was rather high. And I think what they're referring to is the record being how many viewers he had after not being live for that period of time. So I think he kind of I think that kind of set a standard in a way. Not a set standard. Let me rephrase that. I think that kind of reworked that mindset that you can't take a break. Because more and more Twitch streamers apparently are taking breaks, and they're coming back to actual growth. For some reason, they're coming back to growth rather than loss. It makes more sense on YouTube because your backlog is going to get circulated, whereas on Twitch, your backlog doesn't really circulate.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe it's the YouTube content going around that's continuing their growth, and that's why they're coming back. Because almost all these bigger YouTubers have highlight channels and stuff.
Yeah.
Smaller YouTubers, it's obviously harder for us to have Twitch highlight channels because we don't have help.
Yeah.
You can't afford to pay somebody to clip your streams and stuff. But for some of it's beneficial.
Well, this is why I decided not to fuck with Twitch no more, is because I'm like, I tell every single person that I know, I'm like, do YouTube 100%, and then once you get 30 viewers, then you can go to Twitch. Even if Twitch is what you want to do, you start off on YouTube and you get yourself to that bump, because like you said, it only ever looks like you get yourself into the rankings. You learn how to time the market when people are jumping off or jumping on. Maybe you got people who are gonna rate or host you, but I fail to see an environment that's ever going to be healthy. And
there is a way to work the system. I don't do it, but a lot of the thing with Twitch is collaboration. You really do have to collaborate more. I know a guy who, in the last year and a half or so, has gone from like a very low average to like he's getting like 20 people a stream now. Even I only average like 3 a stream or something like that, I think. But every once in a while, but usually I get like a spike somewhere in my streams of like up to 8, and then it'll drop back down. Because usually it's like, because I don't do the like same thing consistently, or it's who I'm talking to that they don't like or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's the thing, is like there's a lot of ways. Like hosting people is big, because if you host people and you're friends with people and stuff, you make connections to people. Like one thing I'm aiming to do is actually follow more streamers soon, because I mean I've actually gained quite a bit from streaming with other people and just hopping in calls with them while they're streaming and things like that.
Oh yeah, because you keep that's bouncing energy, and like that makes sense. I get that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I never expected that either. I never expected that because you don't get that from YouTube, really. You don't get that from, you don't like comment on people's videos and get viewers or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like it's legitimately like you go out and you're like having fun, and then you realize, oh, by actually interacting and stuff, it just happens to be that I'm also gaining from actually just participating within the community rather than just existing within it.
And that's where like kind of where the whole question that like the start of this whole conversation is why I'm asking is like it is almost like a different breed of people. And this is why I don't understand Twitch anymore and why I'll never probably do it again. Is because I don't see how people like I'm on YouTube for 8 to 10 hours a day, whether listening to something or watching something or just passively having things in the background. But like here's the thing. I couldn't do that with a Twitch streamer. I couldn't like, and here like the other thing too is like, I can't watch Dr. Disrespect and when he was on Ninja, and Pay Money Wubby and pro streamers that do StarCraft because that's the only pro thing I watch. Like, I can't do all that. I have to pick like one or two things, and I don't find that to be a good environment because it's like oh yeah, if you're watching Lyric, you're probably watching Summit, you're probably watching blah 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 other people, but like. That's an environment that I don't understand, and I wondered to myself how sustainable it is.
Maybe it's just because I function differently than a lot of people. But like for me, I watch Wubby, I watch Doc, I watch Tim the Tap Man. But I watch a lot of the smaller guys, and I watch like I just kind of use like podcasts and stuff when I'm doing stuff around the house. If when I'm streaming, I'll listen to it just the same as I would for SFTP or something like that. If I'm not available to sit down and watch it, but I still want to hear it or I still want to see what I just want to hang out or whatever, I'll just pop it on and listen. And that's one of the crazy things that got me about the Bo Blacks and Destiny debate was Destiny thinking that people are sitting there actually just watching his face at their desk. For hours a day, multiple days a week. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They're gonna sit at their desk and watch your freaking face just talk. Why wouldn't they do other things like talk shows? Even talk shows, very commonly are just background noise for people.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine how many people are having sex while they're listening to the Tonight Show or something?
A lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Fuck ton, but
there's a lot of them.
I don't think I could keep an erection with Destiny telling me how like everyone needs to be super liberals and getting cucked. I can't do that.
Yeah, it is mind blowing to me that he doesn't think that people are using mobile devices more.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, that people are just watching him talk. People are just watching him and Invader V talk. Okay. Sure. They're watching your face because your lips are that enthralling of an image to look at.
Moist. Yeah. So here's specifically, like, just because I want to wrap in. If I go on Twitch for too long, I tend to get a little pissy because their community is toxic as fuck on the Reddits. But
whose Reddit isn't? Let's be honest. Reddit itself is.
I'm not even gonna argue that. But here's my problem with Twitch now. And I hate it because I'd love to be on Twitch again, is I love the idea of the Tommy C show. You got a pretty decent schedule. It's made pretty simple, but it's fully produced. Like you've got like a show going on. And that's why like the live podcast that Rooster Teeth did was like really enthralling to me for a while. I lost interest, but it was really good because you were like, hey, you can see the fuck ups while they're happening live, and then you get the refined version later.
Yeah.
Now, my problem with Twitch is that the ultra PC police came in. I get why. I never necessarily argue. I understand when you get to that point and you're that big of a website, you kind of have to do it to keep advertisers happy. I don't agree with it personally, but
yeah,
I'm always just nervous that people like me who say genuinely fucked up things just to make people laugh, just to get people to have to just get back into like the satirical mindset of like we're just saying shit just to say it. Doesn't mean anything. It just said words. And I get sad when that's stifled on Twitch because that's all it feels like. It feels like they want people to be these weird churn bots. And I don't like that culture, and it only ever seemed to be happening in like the last 5 years, ever since Amazon owned it, nonetheless. And so I'm just like, it just feels like a foreign environment to me now, because I used to do it all the time, and I'm just like, it's weird to me now.
The thing with Twitch is that, I mean, like, our Augie's show was on Twitch for quite a while. I don't think he's banned off Twitch or anything. I don't know why he went to D Live. But as far as I know, he hasn't been punished by Twitch or anything for what he does. And what he does is the stuff that we all think that Twitch stands against, right? For sure, there's... Huh?
Does he, though? I've watched a couple of the shows. I'm like, he gets raunchy, but, like...
Yeah, but, like, the whole, like, quote-unquote, harassing or bullying other creators and stuff.
Right.
Twitch is more strict about it. They will ban you for talking about another streamer or Twitch staff or anything. Like, it's not unheard of at all. It's not like Crowder or Tipster where occasionally someone will get demonetized or whatever. It's like,
gone.
Don't do it. We mean it. So the fact that he's survived this long on the platform says that they're not as we think they are with that stuff. The problem is the selective enforcement on Twitch makes it seem like there's this real stance that they try and take or something.
Right.
There's not. I think it really is a matter of like, well, if a Twitch mod makes the decision, we're not going to overrule it unless it's like some really crazy thing. Like the fact that Pokimane apparently has a history of accidentally pulling up nudity and stuff, right? And she got slapped on the wrist recently for doing it again. But that guy XQC, apparently he pulled up an image by accident for a split second of gorillas having sex.
And gone, yeah.
And that was too sexually explicit, so he got banned. It's animals.
So, like...
Animals in nature being animals.
Here's what Twitch needs to do. And then I think we could honestly see the website not be as shitty as it is, because I don't remember who I heard this from, but they had this perfect example of like why I don't personally think I'll ever go on it unless I'm doing like paid gigs, which is that you cultivated the culture of snitching. People who like, they wait for your fuck up so they can clip it so they can put it on Reddit. They wait for you to fuck up so that they can report you, or they wait for the moderator to ban you because you did the fuck up, or they look for the shock value. I remember back when I used to roll with these guys, like, they used to stream snipe all the time because they're looking for that reaction. They cultivated snitch culture. And so here's what I think what would need to happen for me personally to understand that environment again. There's this thing that Minds does, which I don't even use Minds that often, but what they do is they're just like every other social media platform. Well, they'll ban you. Like, if you say some real hateful shit, they'll put warnings or strikes on your account. But what they do is they go, we don't moderate any of this shit. We get reports on a specific, whatever they call them, tweet or whatever, and they select like 10 random people and say, does this infringe our rules? And I'm like, if Twitch could do something like that, where they go, hey, we're going to pick 15 users. If they can't come to a clear consensus, then we forward it to a moderator. Do you think this broke the rules? If you could crowdsource that and just say, hey, we allow you to opt in for this option, that would be the key thing. I think you would find the moderation on that website would just be better. And then on top of that, you would stop this fucking snitch culture.
Maybe. But I mean, I don't know. Because you would think we would have seen a drop in that on other platforms too by now.
Well, but it's not as prevalent on YouTube and like Instagram and Twitter as much.
You don't think Twitch? We were talking about Skai Jackson, who's literally the biggest snitch on the planet right now.
But she's being fed that information.
Okay, but is there any effort by anyone to stop her?
I mean, I'd hope people are reporting her. I don't know.
But is it going through at all? No.
Well, she did get banned temporarily.
Like celebrities and stuff. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. It's like she came right back. Right. It was like a 24-hour ban for doxing people.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is, like, it's not
that
necessarily...
was like... That to me comes off like, hey, look, just... We have to do something. We can't just let you do this. We have to do something so we don't look like we're playing favorites.
See,
That's how it comes off to me.
here's the thing, and this is going to sound weird because I'm coming completely ignorant, and it's been many years since I looked into this. I don't think there's explicit rules against doxing people. Like, I don't think there's no law that says you can't just post somebody's address on there. It's when the threat territory becomes that kind of area that it's like, yeah, this isn't allowed. It's like, I don't, I haven't looked in this in so long, so I don't know off the top of my head, but if I were to just say, here's so-and-so's address, 1234 Blueberry Lane, like, I don't think there's any legal wrongdoing there. If I said, hey, so-and-so lives here and there, just happen to be here at this times, and it would be sad if somebody paid them a visit, right? Like, I think that can be conceived as a threat, but just posting it online, I don't know if
I'm pretty sure if it's malicious with malicious intent, it's required for it to be malicious intent for it to be considered doxing.
Right.
And I believe the malicious intent is what makes it a crime.
So that's what
meaning her saying flat out that she's doing, here they are, get them, and things like that. Like she's actually actively trying to crowdsource phone calls to places that could be.
But that's what I mean. It's like there's not explicitly threats there, and that's why I'm like, I think that's why Twitter is playing that fucking tippy toe game around it.
She's saying destroy their lives. She's done this kind of stuff. She's been saying these things. It's not like
that?
Yeah, it's not like veiled threats. I think some of them have been deleted now, but she's been tweeting veiled like not veiled threats.
So like that's why I'm saying like I'm coming a little bit ignorant on this because I've only seen the stuff that other people have reported on, but I've only ever seen her tweets, specifically me, say like things like, hey, this person is an overt racist. She posts the clip or the Photoshop or not the Photoshot of the alleged racist incident, and then she goes, they go here, they live here, or here's their phone number to call, or here's their name. Never explicitly saying something that's inciting people. And again, I don't know. I haven't seen the fucking tweets, so yeah, it could be that she's deleting them, but that's what I mean is like, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any incitement. So I think that's why Twitter's not taking any action. And that's why I'm like, I fucking hate her. She's a cunt. She's robbing people of possible futures. But I'm like, I don't
Okay, but we weren't talking about just crimes, though. To begin with, we weren't talking about just crimes, though, were we? We were talking about, like, people doing things on
snitch
Twitch.
Culture, yeah.
Right. I'm confused how we got onto like, well, where did all of a sudden it need to be a crime for it to fall under what we're talking about?
I was just saying in regards to why Twitter isn't taking action against her. I think they specifically are trying to teeter-tot around there might not be a perfect legal recourse to consider a threat, and that might be why. But going to the main theory of like the whole snitch culture thing, she's being fed that information, and like there is. Like, when you have somebody like Skai Jackson that exists, where their whole purpose of being online is to expose people, like when you have a subreddit like Twitch Fails, the whole existence of that is to snitch on people. But if you got rid of that shit, I think you would erase a lot of snitch culture. So if we had Twitch channels where, like, whenever somebody did a fuck up, like, yes, there was, like, a porn clip that somebody accidentally clicked on for 5 seconds, if you had a panel of, like, 10 people watching and reviewing and being like, it was an accident, maybe give them a warning, we'd possibly curb a big part of snitch culture. You would have to deal with shit like Livestream Fails and Skai Jackson, but that's the big crux, is I'm like, if you could get rid of those as well, the culture on Twitch wouldn't be as shitty, and I think more people like myself who just want to say outlandish shit and make really hyperbolic jokes and want to just be goofy creatives, we would go back on Twitch. But because it's this culture of fear and snitching, it's like I'm never gonna go back there. I'm not gonna have some 12-year-old fucking kill my livelihood.
Yeah, maybe.
This is blah 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 from. Yeah, like there's no explicit threat there. This is just saying.
What do you? Okay, we were talking about incitement. Call and email his school. Someone like him she deliberately incited.
That's not an incitement to violence. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not incitement to violence, but it's harassment.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. But it's a thin veil, and that's where Twitter's probably. I'm kind of just trying to argue that Twitter's playing favorites.
My point is my point.
No, we both agree.
Okay,
that they're
wait.
playing
Hold up.
favorites.
Wasn't your whole point that Twitter and all these other places do the moderation, whereas they don't on Twitch?
Yes, and I'm saying if you change,
And I'm
it up,
showing you an example of them not doing the moderation.
yeah, and that's why I'm coming in and saying, like, if we had like a panel of 10 people who were to review that, myself, and if I were like blindly reviewing this right now, I'd be like, yeah, this is pretty close to threatening somebody. We should probably delete this from a platform. But Twitter doesn't. They play favorites and say, well, there's no overt threats made, and it's technically not illegal, so it's allowed to stay. And that's why.
Right.
Like,
All I'm saying is that my point was just that Twitter and Twitch, they're not that far off, and you kind of shut that down. I was just showing you. Yeah, no, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, I get your point, but I'm kind of just like, the only difference I'm trying to portray here is that this is one person versus the entire viewer base on Twitch. Like,
okay, you want to get you more examples? I could probably get you more examples.
Just listen. Just listen. Skai Jackson gets fed a tweet by random user ABC that says, "We found this one person. The three of us found them." Skai Jackson tweets it out. Skai Jackson gets all the clout. Twitch, Alinity accidentally flashes a nip. I got the clip. I uploaded it to Livestream Fails. I get the Reddit karma. Do you like? It's just a slight difference. They're both bad. I'm just saying it's like one's a whole user base of snitches trying to get clout, and another one's a whole bunch of snitches thinking that they're doing something good when they don't know they're doing something bad. I think I've officially confused you.
Yeah, because it wasn't. You think the majority of users on Twitch are just looking for clip moments?
I'd say like maybe 10%, yeah.
The majority of people on Twitter are looking for interactions and conversations.
But she's not tweeting at the people feeding her information, I don't think.
She's conversing with them publicly.
I have to look. Again, I am coming ignorant on Skai Jackson. I only know what I've seen in the last couple days. I'm not defending this cunt. I think she needs to be.
No. You sound like you're defending Twitter.
Oh, I'm not even.
I was just saying it's the exact same problem.
I will never
on the
fucking
other
defend
platform.
Twitter. I would sooner watch Twitter burn to the ground, not the company, like the website, because I find free speech should be absolute, in my opinion. I am very much against this whole shit of like, well, we need to moderate what hate speech is, and it's like, why do I have to go down this rabbit hole every time I talk about this? My brain, I swear to God, I'm fucking autistic when it comes to hate speech. I'll just say it real quick, just so I can get it out of my fucking brain. I think hate speech is fake. There is no such thing as hate speech. There are no words that you can say that intrinsically hold hatred as the words that are said. And somebody once argued was like, well, if I say I hate you, isn't that hate speech? And I'm like, no. What if I punched you in the face? Would you be justified in saying that I hate you? Yes. And people wouldn't consider that hateful because I punched you in the face.
It is funny because the logic has always been that the word itself is the offensive part, and that's what makes it hate speech. But then at the same time, every single word that is classified as hate speech does also get used by members of each community that it's about. Like there's gay people who call each other the F word all the time.
Right.
There's obviously it's, everyone knows how the N word is used by the black community, and some of the black community. Let me be clear. Obviously, there are some aspects of the black community that feel that word just shouldn't be used at all, in any form.
Right.
But it is kind of funny that people try and have that hate speech thing, right? But they'll try and say it's the word, it's not the context or whatever. It doesn't matter the context or whatever, but it's the word itself. But then the word itself can only be, but if it's the word itself that's offensive, then it can't only be offensive when one group of people uses it and still be a hateful word by itself. It's the context around its usage. It's got that has to be. You can't use that metric of like, well, the word itself is hateful unless it's said by this type of person in this context. But context doesn't matter unless we decide it matters in that
So
instance.
this is the specific line I said in the video, which is why I feel like I have a valid point in saying this, is that you have to self-ascribe the value. So if I were to say on a scale of 1 to 10 how offensive is blank word, it's going to be different. It doesn't matter. If I say fuck, you've ascribed a value of how offensive that is to you. I'm imagining a 1, maybe a 2. It's like, yeah, I don't like you saying that around my kid, but you can say it however else you want. But if I say N-word, well, you ascribe the value. I don't ascribe that value, or somebody else might ascribe that value. So if you create this sliding scale system, there's no word that can be said that instantly everyone says that's a 10 on the scale, basically. This is like an oversimplified way to break it down. So why should you ever consider a word hateful because you're emotionally ascribing a value to how offensive or hateful, quote unquote, it needs to be to you? Because it's not the same to somebody else. And I just think that when you go with that mindset on Twitter, you're just like, well, then everything's hateful. If anybody says anything mean to me, it's hateful. It's like, well, no, I was saying a joke. Oh, no, it was hateful, so I'm banning you.
Yeah, it's an oversimplified way that people try. The problem is people try and simplify their arguments so that they don't have to make more deep. They don't have to have more deep meaning, understanding, and conversation about it. They just want a simple way to explain it so it dies, and we just don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I feel like that's a lot of what it is, and I feel like it kind of, in my opinion, what I've seen people that use the argument of hate speech, often they kind of can't handle debate as to what the context would need to be for it to qualify as hate speech or whatever. Like they can't seem to. I shouldn't say handle necessarily. It's that they can't properly conduct themselves successfully in a debate about what the nuances of the term hate speech and all should be.
So, like, here's one thing about that I agree with you, and it's unfortunately my fault as well, is that I speak in the way to explain to the layman. If we were to go into complex theory, then yeah, we could always have a different conversation entirely. Because why should a word ever offend you? Like, but we can go into like the whole historical value, the contextual value, the societal, the culture. We can deconstruct a word into a fucking book, one word. But who's got time for that shit? So,
did you see people were trying to cancel like Crayola or something because the Spanish spelling, the Spanish word for black was on it?
Yes, I remember. Yes.
And there was people that legitimately like you couldn't tell if they were serious or not, and there was like a ton of people that were very literally angry about it because they didn't understand.
Yes, I remember watching a video of this lady going to a supermarket and being like, "Excuse me, why is this can labeled Negro beans? What is this supermarket?" I'm like, "It's a can of real beans or whatever." The one company. And the one side it said black beans, on the back side it said...
Right.
I'm like, this was like 3 or 4 years ago at this point.
Can you imagine Black Panther merch in Mexico? How offended people would be if you saw Black Panther merch down there? Or you think they just print it as Black Panther to avoid that? Because that would be hilarious. At the same time is really kind of tone deaf if Marvel was selling that and didn't realize they were doing that.
No, they just put them in the background so you can't see them in China. So who cares? No, that shit. Oh my god, I have a problem, and this is gonna sound weird, but it's on the same path with people who stand on BTS and K-pop groups in general. I think we've talked about this, but it's literally an asset created by the government to get you hooked, so you consume more South Korean culture, advertising, products. Mm-hmm. It is literally created by the South Korean government. Does Disney give a fuck if they advertise over in China versus the U.S.? Or they're just going to pander to get your money. So why can't we treat these people the same way we treat like K-pop stans? Why can't we sit there and be like, oh, SpongeBob is gay? And just sit there and go, okay, child, we're now going to put you in your little special box over here where nobody has to ever see you again. And you stay with your other little moronic friends here. and you sit here comfortably because we never need to listen to you ever again. You voted for America's Got Talent. We don't ever, you're not a value to society anymore. You clicked buttons on a phone, paid a toll because you liked the Sanjaya kid on America's Got Talent. You're done now. Go watch your soaps. You're done. I find it just amazing that a company will sell out any immorality and people will believe it as if it's true. And I like that we've wised up in the last decade, that we're like, wait a second, they don't care about us, they want the money. But they still keep trying the tactic. At this point, I would be just happier if Disney came out and said, yeah, we fucking censored John Boyega in China, suck our dick, what are you gonna do about it? They don't like black people over there, fuck you. I'd be like, holy shit, I love this company now.
Yeah, I don't know. I get why they're frustrated, because people they feel like the company should be making a stand. And they know that the company could stand to lose the money and they won't really suffer very much at all because they're going to make so much money from the US already. But I don't know.
I should clarify real quick. I don't like that they censored John Boyega. I would appreciate it if they just told me to fuck off, because that's what they do. I like John Boyega.
Yeah, Boyega's great.
To not sound racist, like I was like, yeah, censor him.
Following him on Twitter's a ride.
His BLM stuff has been.
He's very much more pro destruction of local shops than I'm happy with, but in general, in his general posting and stuff, he's funny, he's entertaining, he doesn't take any crap from people that are like coming at him or whatever. I appreciate that about some actors. There's just some actors that I really appreciate how they interact with the Twitter community, basically. Like Ricky Gervais is one. It's like he doesn't take any crap from anybody. Chris D'Elia. What do you mean?
Gervais is.
I mean, he constantly goes like at people about crap. Like that's what I mean.
Exactly.
What I mean. I mean in a positive way though. He like goes out and he doesn't just let them talk trash to him.
No. Here's the thing. When you put on the facade of I'm being humorous by saying, oh, you're talking trash, I'm going to dish it out back to you and this is going to be funny. You, as a troll, the point, like, if I'm getting fucked with, you disengage that fucking with. You just deliver a line and you cut the argument off there. If you're actually, like, what I'm like, sorry, we got to wrap up because my brain's frying a little bit. When you're trying to actually not be affected by what people are saying, you can't then consume it, spend 10, 15 minutes crafting a whole thing to respond with so that you can have the epic mic drop moment. That means you took the time to actually consider their words and they have an impact on you. If you're trolly like me, you just kind of say stupid shit like, well, you're broke and you live in your mom's basement, you mic drop it a little bit and you've shut down the argument.
Gervais you're putting a whole different context to what I said, though. I said he doesn't take any crap from anybody. He doesn't just sit there and just let people talk trash about him.
But I'm saying
just because he considers what they say doesn't mean anything. I'm
just saying it affects him.
Okay,
but
how does that mean that he takes crap from? He just takes crap from people. He's not just lying down and letting them just insult him or whatever. He's actually
why would anybody give a fuck? Why? It would be more amazing if he was just like, I'm just going to go diving off the deep end. He actually is being impacted by stupid shit, and therefore people are insisting on trying to make more stupid shit.
Because some people like actually having conversation.
I mean, yeah.
He's a comedian, so it comes off as snarky and insulting when he goes at people, yeah. But just because he has a conversation with people, like, for example, I have conversations with people all the time that aren't amicable, even. Does that mean that I'm taking crap? Like I'm just taking heat from people? No, I'm actually conversing with them. Just because I'm listening to them doesn't mean I'm you're being so affected. But what?
I apologize. My brain is a little fried, but I'm just trying to kind of convey the idea that if you're gonna spend that much time responding and consuming what people say about you, you care. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like you give a fuck enough to actually let these people have an impact on how you dictate what you say or do. So it's the straw man argument of like, oh, I'm a big bad tough bully, but secretly like I'm getting abused by somebody else, so therefore that's why I'm lashing out on other people. It's kind of the same premise here, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna make these silly one-liner jokes and just try to like take you down on Twitter because you're talking shit to me. But it's like, please stop talking shit about me. I'd appreciate it if you would stop. Like I want to be liked. I have this dying need as a comedian to be liked by people.
Maybe you're seeing different tweets than I am, because I see him constantly going like back and forth with people, never just backing down to people. You're describing somebody who backs down after they make a bad statement or something. He actually defends his statements. He actually he was one of the people, like I saw people from like, not necessarily Hollywood, but I saw people like celebrities and stuff that were defending what's her face in Canada, the Yaniv. He was actually one of the people that was going at Yaniv, and people were constantly calling him transphobic and stuff like that because he was going at Yaniv. But he didn't back down.
Not like that. I don't like, not that stuff. I'm talking about just the random troll comments, more specifically. I guess maybe that's where I'm coming off as being dumb.
I don't know. All I was saying was that I enjoy his tweets because he plays back and forth. He banters with people. That's all I was saying. He doesn't just let them just make fun of him. If he feels like bantering back and forth, he'll do it. That's all I was saying. Like, D'Elia does the same thing, except D'Elia is more trolly than Gervais is. Gervais will actually make stances and stuff.
So full disclaimer, I don't follow D'Elia, so I don't know anything about him.
Oh, dude, you should be following D'Elia.
I don't like his comedy. I just don't want to be I don't know why. I listen to his stuff. He's a smart guy.
I don't like his stand-up, but I like him in everything else he does.
I don't know. I'm like, the only thing I can stand him is when he's on somebody's podcast, and because he sounds like a really rational, pretty chill guy. I just
right, but keep in mind that it's off the cuff humor that he does on the podcast, because it's like improv and just like, you know, whatever, just chilling with people, right? That's what happens on Twitter too.
But that's what I mean. It's like I just don't like that presence of him. I don't know how to explain it other than
you
just
cannot like him. It's fine. You sound like you're like trying to defend why you don't like him. It's cool that you don't like him. I was just saying that's why.
You're saying I gotta follow him, and I'm just kind of like,
I didn't say that. Oh, well, like, I did say that, but I said it facetiously. I didn't mean like you literally have to follow him, bro. You literally have to. I'm gonna come over there. I'm gonna push the follow button myself.
Oh, you fucking better not. I'm gonna sue your ass. No. I looked at that interaction that he had with Logan Paul, and I'm just like, I'm good. The one time when the whole thing was going back and forth, like, oh, your Netflix special is dead, and he was like, fuck you for filming Dead Body or whatever.
It was way better than that. Talk about downplaying it.
It's so long ago, I don't remember.
You remember what Logan Paul said, but you don't remember what D'Elia said.
Is that what Logan Paul said?
He said something. He said almost that. Yeah.
Oh.
He literally just insulted him because he had a Netflix special that was not doing well or something like that. Which there's no way to know because Netflix doesn't give out the numbers even to the people themselves.
No, I don't. It's been so long. It's like that time paradox. It's like that was like what, last year, and it feels like it was a decade ago. I don't fucking know. Mm-hmm. It's just funny. You get your chuckle. You move on.
Like if you one great example of his comedy. One of my favorite things to do is like looking at him and the Fighter and you know the Fighter and the Kid podcast?
I do. I don't listen to Callan.
I can't. Is it Brian Callan?
Yeah. Callan and Andrew Scholes.
I don't like Callan that much at all. I find him kind of annoying. But for some reason, it's him and D'Elia's banter is fantastic. So, like, I saw a clip the other day where D'Elia actually went to one of his shows out of the blue. Like, didn't tell him he was going to be there or anything. He just happened to... He's like, oh, I'm going to be there. I'm just going to walk in. So he walks on stage as he's wrapping up his set, and they end up just standing on stage insulting each other for, like, 5 minutes. It was so funny.
You got to send me that. That sounds funny as hell.
I'll try and find it, yeah.
No, there's something about... I got jaded on Brian Callan. Was the Ari Shaffir with Kobe's death thing. I was like, I hate being like emotionless, but I'm a free speech absolutist, and listening to a professional comedian say that another professional comedian shouldn't have made a too soon joke, I'm like, respect you that much anymore. I'm sure he's a nice guy. If I ever met him, I'm sure he'd be like great.
See, that's the thing is with that one in particular, that one was, I never actually found out what was actually said. But apparently it was about his daughter, and not him. A lot of people that I saw, comedians included, said that if it had been just specifically about him himself, the public figure, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. It wouldn't have been nearly as big a deal. But because apparently the joke had something to do with his family or his daughter or something, when apparently at the time they didn't really know who was in the crash.
No, he didn't mention that in the original video they already did. He never mentioned his daughter. He said Kobe Bryant is gone and something about fuck you. You should have stayed with so and so team, and I'm glad he's gone or something like that.
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is everybody I saw talking about it, because I never was able to find the actual video.
Well, you could just YouTube it.
By now I probably could, but at the time that I actually cared, I couldn't.
Oh.
It wasn't up anywhere. Because I think they were removing videos of it.
Yeah, it was a bad joke, but I'm just like, the response was just so wrong from everybody in my eyes, and I'm a heartless bastard. That's why I'm just like, it's like the Louis C.K. joke about 9/11. Just like, how long did it take after you to masturbate from 9/11? Does that make me a bad person that I was doing it as the towers were falling? I'm like,
well, here's the thing.
Joke horrible.
Here's the thing. When Ari's joke happened, though, it wasn't like the funeral had happened. Like, nobody had time to process things. That's the thing. That's the real thing. Is you have to wait for process, right? Like freaking McCrudden put out his documentary on George Floyd 3 days after he died, but we still have protests going on right now. I don't even think his memorial service had even happened at that point. So the problem is, and he's defending this like crazy. He defended this like crazy. He made a whole video defending doing it.
Right, I remember we were back and forth on this one. I don't remember though. I never actually looked into it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was one of his better works I've seen. But the problem is not waiting until people have had time to deal with it. It's not really right, in my opinion, to just throw it at, like, you didn't see documentaries about, X celebrity the day after he died, right? You don't see that in mainstream, let alone online.
I disagree.
You see documentaries, but you don't see them like that.
No, I gotta disagree, man. Those fucking soulless bastards in Hollywood, that's the first thing they're doing. You just don't hear about it in the news because it's like 2 weeks removed when they're like, oh, we're doing the biopic of blah, blah person.
I'm talking about oh my word, you're twisting what I'm actually saying. McCrudden puts out a rushed doc days after their death before anyone is dealt with, with coped. You're talking about people that are putting together a documentary days after. They'll announce it weeks out. Yeah, you're talking about things that are going to take weeks to do. You're talking about things like, oh, well, we're working on a documentary because this person died. But this guy is just rushing out a documentary about people days after they died, while their name is as relevant as possible. I mean, it's not a love letter to them. He's just trying to profit off the name while their name is clickable because they died.
Right, and
that's the nuance. That's the problem to a lot of people.
I'm emotionless here, man. I'm telling you. I don't find any offense to that. I don't.
I know you don't, but that's the thing is, it's not about what you think. It's about It's about the optics of it, basically.
Yeah, it's people's reactions. I get that, but that's what I'm trying to contest. Is like,
point is, let the body get warm or let it get cold. That's all. Just let people grieve before you start doing that.
How long does it take a body to get cold after it dies?
It depends. Depends on the situation. But it's a saying. It's just a saying. It's just a term for it.
No, I know. I wanted to actually literally think about that for a second.
Yeah, I think it's like up to 72 hours or something like that, depending on where. Because obviously the body could stay warm even if it's out in the sun, in the heat and all that. But like the bodily fluids and all that won't be warmed up inside the body anymore and keep flowing or anything. So I think it's somewhere within. I think it's somewhere within 24 to 72 hours, depending on your environment, but I'm not positive. I never actually looked it up. I believe logic dictates it somewhere around there.
I'm not Googling that because my search history is a little fucked right now. But
I don't care enough to Google it either. But I would assume that the average is probably within 24 hours. I mean, I would assume that it's even possible for it to be 12 hours. In even normal temperatures and regular, like where your body, like if you're inside where you're not being heated by the sun or anything, or if you're not in a room with the heat on or something, I could see it being 12 hours. But obviously, just like anything else, you're going to slowly cool down because a lot of your body radiates heat, and it's going to slowly cool down because your whole body's going to have to cool down. So that's what I'm talking about. Like when you're talking about like completely cooled down, yeah, probably like within 24 hours for most situations, and it's probably up to 72 depending on your, again, just based on logic and how fluid and the body heat is generated and all that stuff.
Oh Lord, I can't Google that. I believe you for now.
Yeah, I just don't care enough to look it up because I know the average is like within 24 hours most likely. Not to mention how often TV shows and stuff they'll say 24 hours. That's one of those things that it's probably so common knowledge within the industry of doing that kind of stuff. Where like, yeah, this is we just know this. This is every time we ask an expert, this is what they say.
So like, this is what I want to leave off on because I do have to cut it. It's just like I always say, what I say to myself, not what I always say to people. What's the difference between 72 hours, McCrudden getting it, and 2 months, the delivery? I mean, like, what's the difference? I don't find that much to be that different. And, to each its own. That's just me. I'm a heartless bastard.
Okay, see, I said I was using that as a turn of phrase, and then you just used it literally.
No, you said McCrudden got his thing out in 3 days after George Floyd's death.
Okay, I guess it's just weird that you went off to the temperature thing, and then I said 12 to 72 hours, and you said, yeah, I mean, he got it down in 72 hours. I don't know.
Well, you said McCrudden had gotten his George Floyd little documentary out in 3 days, and that was too soon for you, because the protests and riots were still going on.
Because nobody had stopped grieving yet. There was clearly more to it than that.
And that's why I'm crazy and saying I don't think there's a difference in trying. So, like, somebody dying from cancer, it's a fucked up, awful situation. You still try to make them laugh. You still try. It may not go over very well. Like Ari's little video with Kobe.
I failed to see the comparison between making a cancer patient laugh and feel good in his dying moments, and McCrudden throwing together a Wikipedia read video of things that his family already know, and in most cases, not doing anything special with the video, just doing that.
I won't speak on McCrudden because I haven't seen the video. I'll stay on Ari with Kobe's thing because that's
again though. I'm talking about in general. Like, he has a reputation with this for a reason. It's not just like this one in particular. Yes, was the best, but his problem is he acts like he doesn't have a bad reputation for a good reason.
Oh, I don't care about McCrudden's response. That's me though. I'm like he knows what he's doing. Who cares about McCrudden? You want to rehash that one?
No, because I'm tired of trying to bring the nuance in, and you kind of like just I don't really see that nuance, but you don't really acknowledge the nuance.
No, I acknowledge it. I just say that I'm a
no. I mean, I'm saying there's a lot of stuff that I've specifically mentioned that you kind of don't get as we continue the conversation. So let's just drop it. We're never going to agree on McCrudden. I still think he's Michael McDouchebag, and you think it's whatever, passable. No one cares.
I think he's Michael McDouchebag too. I just don't care about Michael McDouchebag. I do care about Brian Callen having a response to Ari Shaffir that makes it sound like he's trying to quote unquote villainize him, as I'm going to oversimplify. That's where I care. I don't know how to describe what the fuck I'm even talking about, like in a feasible word. Like, oh, I'm not being racist. I'm being jokist. Like, I don't know what the fuck it's called. I wish I had a term. I wish I had something, but I don't. So I have to explain through fucking convoluted nuance that makes everyone insane.
Where was Callen's response?
Whose response?
Callen. Where was his response? Because I don't remember seeing it.
It was on Fire and the Kid.
Okay.
You just look up
now,
Callen's response to RA's joke.
I'll have to look it up because they typically do a lot of dry humor on their show where they'll say something and they'll hope the other one picks up on it and runs with it. So I don't know if that's what that was or not. I would have to look into it. I'll have to watch the clip.
It could be. I just watched that one snippet, and he legit looked like he was pissed off.
Mm.
So maybe I missed that. It's entirely
And
possible.
there might be something else that happened that we don't know about too, regarding the conversation leading up to that too. He might have been like
Oh,
worked up from a previous conversation because Callan gets worked up.
oh yeah.
He gets worked up, and I've seen him let being worked up roll from one topic to another in really weird ways. But yeah, for the most part, comedians just disagreed with like, yeah, you should have really waited on that one. At least from what I saw.
So here's my question I want to leave off with real quick, just for you personally. And we can cut this if you don't like this question. Do you think, in my wording that I use when I try to frame things, that I'm coming off as crazy? Like, lacking a
No,
specific.
disconnected.
Well, let me specify what I mean by crazy, because I'm like, that may be relevant. I mean specifically, I'm just saying things just to sound like I'm saying things. I don't have a clear point I'm trying to make.
No, I mean for example with the McCrudden situation, you clearly have your own opinion. It's not you're just saying things about it to say things. You clearly have an opinion that it's not that big a deal. The thing is, like I said, I think a lot of it's just your perspective is, I don't want to say, obviously no one's perspective is necessarily wrong because it's based on their history and all that. I think in some ways you're just disconnected from why other people see things emotionally the way they do.
Okay.
Whereas, like, for me personally, I'm not affected, like, again, by, like, McCrudden's video about George Floyd or anyone else for that matter. But as a premise, as a concept of what he does and why he does it and how he does it, that's where my issue is. It's not exactly with, any one in particular act, right? It's a matter of that perspective.
Okay. See, yeah, I'm just trying to gather this information like a fucking parasite and learn from it. And I don't ever want to come off as just sounding, and this isn't just meant to like, oh, I'm trying
Just
to patch
saying
up
things
our
to hear
little
your own
discon-"
voice kind of thing.
No, I'm not trying to just sound like an asshole, but I have a problem. I'm going to call it a problem because in my opinion it is a fucking problem, but I don't think it's misplaced yet. Is that I've lived a life of being told I'm a fuck up in many ways, and then as I'm becoming an adult, I've created this scenario where I can plan scenarios out really, really well and effectively. So like if I were to say right now, hey, let's make a plan to build a shed tomorrow, and here's how we'll do it. I can get you really close to doing it exactly the way my plan describes. Close to. And subsequently, that's made me into a psychopath where I think I can ascribe people what people should be emotionally feeling when they really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I call that an affliction. But the reason why I believe this is because generally I find if you follow my rule of suggestions, or my path of suggestions, you tend to do pretty well if you just listen. And it's kind of the unfortunate scenario I've been created with, like, working with all these YouTubers who inevitably are going bankrupt or getting sued or losing money, and I'm just like, if you just listen to me, you'd probably be fine. Like the protesters and rioters, I'm like, maybe if you had taken some suggestions, you probably wouldn't be posting violent glorification on Twitter and wouldn't be banned right now. Like, and I call it bad. I don't call it a good thing. So I'm just trying to figure out how do I better approach things.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase this the right way. Because I think I think what that speaks to is probably just a matter of again, perspective. Like you're more upfront with something rather than because a lot of times there's psychological issues, right? There's like you might be able to, you might have like a great plan, right? But it doesn't work for somebody because they just, like for example, like you could say to somebody like right now the best thing you could do for a YouTube channel would be just putting up like a video of you just rambling about the whatever's going on that day. Just go for it. Just say what you want about whatever's going on. Whereas then people like me will come at, they'll be like, if you say that to someone like me, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna get enough of the facts. I'm gonna like, I can't just do that. I morally and psychologically myself, I can't push myself to just put out a video knowing that there's a good possibility I'm getting stuff wrong because I don't have enough information. Just because I'm just making an opinion video and using that as a scapegoat. So there's different psychological effects, different psychological reasonings for people, different ways that they see things. And I mean, and that's just a simple one, like that's most relevant to what we're doing and talking about right now. But when you're talking about like even like personal life advice or something, right? Like I've made the mistake before of trying to, I tend to, when I talk to people, try and relate things that they talk about and stuff to myself, which unfortunately results in me sometimes talking about myself more than I mean to. Right. But it's mostly because it helps me relate to them. And while it comes off as a little bit more like trying to bring myself into a conversation that doesn't necessarily need to be in, it's not, it just comes off that way by accident, rather than me trying to associate myself with something so I can understand it better. And I've made a mistake before with certain people and definitely kind of, I don't want to say offended them, but had a negative effect on the conversation because of it. I'm sure for a fact that it happens the other way around as well. So I would very much see that if you aren't taking into account different things like, well, maybe this person can't do this, right? Just like how a lot of YouTubers and stuff are like, oh, well, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do this, but you need to do this. Okay, well, maybe not everybody has the finances to do that. Or maybe they don't have the connections to do that. Like a lot of people say you need to do more collaborations and stuff as a YouTuber. And a lot of people like myself, they just have no idea how to work in a collaboration because it doesn't flow with the kind of work they do. Like a lot of YouTuber collaborations in commentary revolve around doing like actual work on the script together and things like that. Whereas with me, it's kind of like how Chris Ray Gun and a lot of people, they just have a scripted, like some kind of bit that they wanted somebody to do. And they're like, hey, could you do this for me? And it has to really work with the video, otherwise it flops. It damages the video if it's not the right kind of collaboration. If it's not
so like
organized properly.
So that's the part, like, and if we're gonna keep it strictly to YouTube, that's why I am what I am. Because if I'm just oversimplifying things and I broke down everything you just said, what I just heard, with the exception of obvious problems like financial stuff, is that I can't do these things, pending obviously what my suggestion would be in these metaphorical examples. I can't do these things because my brain has created this impasse that this doesn't work, or this isn't working. Like, for example, like, this is going to sound stupid, but like I wasn't able to upload my audio or my videos to my computer because I didn't have the right cable. But what led up to that was 20 hours of me going, just delete the footage. It's not even worthwhile. The fucking camera, like, it sucks. The angles suck. My jokes to my little Google is going to fucking flop. It's a bad video. Just cut it and do it again. And, like, in my opinion, if you could cut that shit out of your life, you're almost always going to do better for yourself. Now, obvious things like, oh yeah, well, the financial barriers, the trying to convince other people to do collaborations with you. I see that, and I understand those barriers, but like when it comes to personal life, I'm just like, if you can find a way to just get rid of that shit, I think, in my opinion, that tends to be better for you, although it tends to create a sociopath like me.
Well, but when you're talking about, again, since we're sticking with YouTube, we're talking about creatives. It has to be their vision. You can't just have them make a video removing their vision from it, right? It's like, this doesn't work this doesn't work for me because it doesn't fit my vision, because this is where I'm trying to go with it. Instead, I'm going to go over here just to get this aspect of it.
Well, that's a little bit not quite, though. I'm kind of saying is that there's barriers that you put up mentally that stop you from trying that thing. I'll give you an example, and then we'll kind of tie it back to McCrudden real quick. Is like the amount of YouTubers that I've seen who are like, the YouTube rules change, so I can no longer produce content X, for example. So what they try to do is they try to adapt content X to become content X version 2.0 instead of going, well, I'll keep doing content X, but then I'll also do content Z. And when I do Z, that'll be my new thing so that I can change, but I can keep doing this thing, and maybe you end up liking Z more. But the reason you keep doing X is because, well, that's where my viewers come, that's why I get all my viewership, and that's where like my people seem to like. But come to find out, you're miserable doing that. Like I think of Tom Scott doing Ass Stuff movie. He's fucking miserable always producing one of those things. So slowly but surely he keeps trying to do his little vlog channel and all that other stuff, and he's finding out that he likes doing that thing. But you put up these mental barriers that say, I can only do Ass Stuff movie. That's all I can do because that's where the views and the numbers are. And I go, well, if you could break that mental barrier down, you might find better success and happiness if you broke that barrier down. And that's my opinion. It's totally just an opinion. I don't know. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's just my history seems to show that I tend to be kind of correct. Kind of. Not in the YouTube sense.
You're usually talking about, from what we're talking about, you're usually talking about like numbers and things like that. But again, like for example, with me, I would have more success if I was just putting out rambly videos and stuff, more like, just picking a topic and going at it. But the problem is I can't stand the idea of getting a story wrong or something like that. If I'm talking about trending stuff, I need like topical stuff, I need to make sure I'm doing it right. That's something that would come back to bite me in the long run if I just continue to just do whatever and just say whatever. So while it might benefit me now to just do whatever because I'll get bigger numbers, you're talking about morals, ethics, and perspective. You're talking about a whole bunch of other nuances that come into play beyond just, money or views or whatever.
I like the way you said that. That was actually really well said.
I appreciate that.
Whenever I say that, I'm like, oh, you click the thing in my brain so that I can understand that a lot more comprehensively.
Oh, gotcha.
When somebody just says, oh, you don't understand the nuance, it's like, okay, well, you just explained what nuance is. I'm like, oh, that's more than just saying, oh, yeah, Black Lives Matter. It's like, well, what is Black Lives Matter? And then you go and explain Black Lives Matter. I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand what that means.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, like, it's gonna depend on, like, for another example would be reviewers, like people that are reviewing products. They want to make sure they put enough time, enough effort into making sure the product is actually what they're saying it is before they were to put out a review. But anybody could like get a product, do an unboxing, and then put out a video about the unboxing, and it'll come off like a review, and people will be like, oh, this looks cool, I'm gonna get this. But then they just promoted a product that they find out later to be, piece of trash, it falls apart or whatever. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. The good old Escobar fold.
I don't know. I think we need a balance between that, though.
No, there definitely needs to be, and that's the problem. Is a lot of people have a problem with balance. Yeah. That's the problem with everything is balance. Like for example, me right now, I'm taking so much time on this stupid hood gaming this hood gaming video that isn't worth nearly this much trouble because I'm paying too much attention to how much humor is in the video versus how accurate I'm being with my facts. Is there more information that I haven't found yet because so much of the stuff was deleted? So am I missing part of the story that I'm gonna be wrong about? Like, there's a lot to it that I'm spending too much time with and too much stuff when I really should just pump a lot of that out.
I'm going to leave off on this because I'm like, holy shit, it's almost midnight. And I have to be up at 6 because, that's how I exist.
Yeah, same here.
But my question is that people don't understand that balance. People don't understand you can consume a McCrudden video. And in my opinion, that shouldn't be that bad. But you have to balance it out by going, okay, I'm going to consume this well-produced news piece to balance it out. So that maybe I can get a clearer picture of the story or clear up lies or misinformation. My question is, can you ever truly respect the person that tells you that? Like, doesn't it feel like to an extent that you're being told you're doing things wrong and you automatically are going, I feel like I'm being insulted by being told how to better myself? So we can understand that consuming just neo-Nazi material is probably not good for your brain.
Right.
But if somebody goes, "Hey, you're consuming a lot of neo-Nazi content there. Maybe you want to go look at some of this other stuff." Can you ever treat that person with respect, or do you just not immediately just sit there and go, "Fuck you! You don't get to tell me what I do in my life." I feel like that person.
I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, there's people. There's literally people whose job is to like, try and help guide you through your life, like therapists and things like that, who are like trying to help you figure out where you're struggling in life. And
But they're always trying to fuck you, dude. Come on, can't trust them.
they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, maybe they're just lying, but I've never heard anybody that slept with their therapists.
Self-help gurus, man, they're just out to fuck.
Oh, the self-help gurus, yeah, but I said therapists. You said Prince. I'm sure
think about
Prince C's
this.
getting laid left and right.
If what was the point for somebody to become a therapist? To help other people? No, they wanted money. Do you know why they wanted money? So they could get laid. And
That
that's
seems
the
awfully
circle of
cynical.
life. It's called the circle of life. I'm glad you finally got educated, motherfucker.
Wait, is that what group therapy is? It's just a circle jerk?
The amount of times I've heard about people who go to group therapy sessions and try to get like swinger parties going.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were actually going to say that the amount of times that I've heard of guys that went to like AA and they came back and they told me, dude, it turned into just a circle jerk. It was fantastic. I thought you were really going to say that.
No,
I could see that more.
Why do
I
pedophiles
can imagine
become
the number of
priests?
people that go to sex therapy, like group sex therapy, and like try and get a swinger party going. I could totally see that.
I mean, I would argue that's too easy.
I mean, it does seem like it might be kind of easy. Yeah.
There is an intrinsic nature in people and the idea of conversion. Why do you think so many pedophiles become priests? Because that's where you can go. Now, would you rather play on easy mode, or would you rather play on hard mode and go, hey, I bet I could get some swingers up in this AA meeting? That's called playing on hard mode.
I don't know. This might be a topic for a different time entirely, but I don't necessarily think they were pedophiles that became priests necessarily, or that they became priests because they thought it'd be easy that way. I think if anything, they maybe they realize, well, I'm a pedophile. I need to get rid of these thoughts. So maybe if I go into the clergy or whatever, maybe it'll help me bathe myself in the religion, and I can get rid of these foul thoughts. The other possibility that I've always heard is that it was something that didn't become really relevant to them until much later, when they started spending time with the children. Granted, they spent a lot of time with nuns too, but given what happens, the conversation, things like that, like there might be some reason for it there as well.
See, I like that you're taking me serious, but I'm like,
I have no idea when to take you serious and when not to.
that's good. That's really good. I'm a crazy person. You shouldn't. I think
That's a scary thing to me.
I agree, but I also disagree.